Welcome to the Feral Druid PvE guide for the War Within. In this video, I will discuss stat priority, talents, and rotation. After what you've learned in this guide, you should be able to provide exceptional damage in mythic content and raids. Let's begin. First of all, let me start by saying the War Within Feral Druid talent tree is okay. Compared to balance, it seems to be doing better, but it has room for improvement. Though, being better than balance is good for Feral, because it means being invited into more mythic content. Let's start off by talking stats. The stat priority for Feral Druid seems to be crit and mastery, agility, haste, and then versatility. You can do a little bit of a combination here, but the top will be crit and mastery all the way. Keep in mind, these are talents that I have researched and found to be successful for me. Make sure that you are simming and checking damage whenever necessary. You may make some changes here and there. Here's the talent tree that I have found useful. You can find the import code in the description of this video. You must know that Predator has been changed and no longer provides free Tiger's Fury procs, and Astral Influence does not increase Feral Druid range anymore. This is an upset, but we can work around it and still do good damage. As far as hero talents go, Wild Stalker seems to be the best bet for now. And that does not mean Druid of the Claw cannot find its way into the endgame eventually, but for now we're using Wild Stalker. Wild Stalker provides ferals with extra bleeds, and Resilient Flourishing causes these bleeds to jump to nearby targets when an enemy dies. Alongside that, Wild Stalker also increases healing for the Feral Druid, which contributes to survivability. This is why I recommend picking up Wild Stalker. Most of my defenses come from the left side of the talent tree. I do choose to pick up Remove Corruption most of the time because Dispel is useful in a handful of dungeons. Cyclone can also be great when getting into higher key mythics. I pick up Lure of the Grove to increase Moonfire damage. This is a useful combo point generating ability for me. For Feral Druid talents, I choose to go with every single dot and bleed available. I am just missing Feral Frenzy. I opt for Double Clawed Rake and Lunar Inspiration. The Double Clawed Rake is great for multiple target situations and applying all of those bleeds. I do choose Adaptive and Unbridled Swarm because the damage increase to bleeds is exceptional. Circle of Life and Death is nice to have as it increases damage overall. Apex Predator's Craving I chose because the extra damage from Ferocious Bite is significant and works very well in single target encounters. Along with all of these talents, I also chose to go with Berserk and Convoke. Convoke seems to be doing better than Incarnation as of now, and that will stay as my primary talent. Though, I do opt to reduce the cooldown of Berserk and improve upon it with Berserk Frenzy. This build provides Feral Druids with every single periodic effect and bleed possible to maximize damage in dungeons. It is great in AoE encounters, boss fights, or single target encounters. With Raging Fury, it seems that having a longer Tiger's Fury does do more damage overall compared to running Tiger's Tenacity. Though, Tiger's Tenacity has its uses, and these two talents can be interchanged given the circumstance. Vein Ripper seems to be the overall choice as it does improve AoE damage, yet you can use Rip and Tear for single target encounters. Apex Predator is less likely to proc, but it's still great to run, especially when using Rampart Ferocity and Resilient Flourishing. Remember, these talents are what I've been running and deemed to be successful. They may change, or you may have better luck opting for others, though these have been well researched and put to good use. As far as Feral Druid rotation goes, the goal is to use energy efficiently to maximize the amount of finishers we can use. Also, making sure our combo point generating abilities are used correctly. For primary cooldowns, we have Tiger's Fury, Berserk, and Convoke. You want to make sure you use Tiger's Fury before using Berserk or Convoke as it will increase damage output. For combo point generators, we have Shred, Rake, Brutal Slash, Thrash, and Moonfire. Shred is an expensive ability to use and only hits one target. Rake should be used whenever the bleed is not applied to targets. Brutal Slash is a cheap combo point generator for single and multi-target. Thrash is expensive and does not do a ton of damage, but if it goes through its whole rotation, it can be good. Use Thrash to proc Blood Talons mostly. Moonfire dots are also great to keep up on targets. Now for Blood Talons, the bread and butter of this talent tree. You will want to follow the rotation of Rake, Thrash, and Brutal Slash for AoE, and Shred, Thrash, and Brutal Slash for single target if everything is raked. Substitute Rake when needed to maintain bleeds. Thrash is good for generating blood talents, but that is about it. Now remember, you need to use 3 separate combo point generating abilities to proc blood talents to increase the damage of your Rip and Ferocious Bite finishers. One reason to use Thrash over Shred would be to generate extra combo points in AoE situations, because of the chance to crit with multiple targets. Just make sure you are utilizing blood talents and using 3 separate combo point generators. Now let's discuss Snapshotting. Snapshot is when an ability increases periodic effect of a dot through its full rotation. Blood Talons and Tiger's Fury both snapshot and increase the damage of bleeds throughout their full duration. It is important to snapshot Rip, Rake, and Moonfire. Thrash is secondary when it comes to snapshotting, as the damage is minimal, but still important. A spell like Adaptive Swarm does its damage after the fact. You will want to apply all bleeds before using Adaptive Swarm, as it increases damage to presently applied dots. Now for finishers. Rip is the core finisher and should always be applied to targets. Use Rip in single target encounters or Primal Wrath in AoE situations. The only difference between Rip and Primal Wrath is that Primal Wrath applies the bleed to multiple targets for half the amount of time, and it does initial damage to all targets. Using Primal Wrath increases the chance for Apex Predator procs. For Ferocious Bite, you want to use this ability when Rip bleeds are not in danger of falling off. Use Adaptive Swarm whenever you can, before the pull or towards the end of the pull. Don't Adaptive Swarm on massive pulls, as the damage is minimal, and in the middle of the fight, it's better to use other abilities than Adaptive Swarm. Also, don't forget to reapply bleeds when they are a 30% duration or lower. It will carry over the 30% to the next bleed. If your Rip is at 8 seconds and 30%, it will be 30 seconds when reapplied rather than the initial 24 seconds. That about sums up everything for Feral Druid in the War Within. Keep in mind these talents are based on my research and experience, and I have found them to be great. Be sure to sim your own builds and enjoy. I post guides and stream here on YouTube. Subscribe and enjoy the War Within with me. See you next time.